Sweet hour of prayer, sweet hour of prayer, that calls me from a world of care, and bids me at my Father's throne make all my wants and wishes known. In seasons of distress and grief, my soul has often found relief, and oft escaped the tempter's snare. By thy return, sweet hour of prayer.
In a village cradled by the sun-scorched earth of the savannah, where the acacia trees stood like skeletal sentinels against a brazen, cloudless sky, lived a young girl named Tola. The sun had loved her too fiercely, stealing the light from her eyes before she could even remember the color of the sky. But where sight had been taken, another sense had bloomed in its place. Tola's world was a symphony of sounds, a tapestry of textures, a library of scents. She knew the village not by its huts and pathways, but by the whisper of the wind through the thatched roofs, the crunch of dry soil underfoot, and the unique scent of each family's cooking fire. Her days began with the first stirrings of the village, the distant crow of a rooster, the soft shuffling of her mother preparing the morning meal. Tola's fingers were her eyes. They danced over the rough bark of the baobab tree, traced the intricate patterns on clay pots, and read the stories etched into the faces of her family. She could tell who was approaching by the rhythm of their footsteps long before they spoke. Her world was rich, vibrant, and full. But a shadow had fallen over Tola's world, a shadow that had nothing to do with the darkness of her eyes. It was a silence. The laughter of the river had faded to a mournful whisper, then to nothing at all. The once lush fields, which had sung with the rustle of maize, now crackled with brittle, brown stalks. The rains had forgotten them. The drought was a thief, stealing the life from the land, the joy from the people, and the hope from their hearts. The air, once filled with the earthy scent of wet soil, now carried only dust and despair. The drums, which had once beaten with the rhythm of celebration, now lay silent, their skins as tight and dry as the ground. Every day, the villagers gathered under the great baobab, their faces etched with worry. The elders, led by the stern and respected chief aide, would speak of the ancestors, of traditions broken and spirits angered. Aide's voice was like grinding stones, heavy with the weight of his people's suffering. "The spirits are displeased," he would declare, his gaze sweeping over the gaunt faces. "We have failed them, and now the sky withholds its tears." Tola, sitting quietly at the edge of the circle, felt their despair like a physical weight. But she also felt something else. In the quiet of the night, when the world was still, she would go to the heart of the village, to the ancient baobab tree. Pressing her cheek against its gnarled bark, she listened. She heard a song, a faint melody that rose not from the world around her, but from the earth beneath. It was a song of deep roots, of ancient waters, of a secret life hidden far from the sun's cruel gaze. It spoke of a place called the Crystal Mountain, a peak so high it pierced the belly of the sky, and of a flower, the Whispering Orchid, which held the secret of the rains. One evening, as the council of elders debated yet another failed ritual, Tola finally found her voice. It was a small sound, but it cut through the heavy silence. "The earth has told me a secret," she began, her words trembling slightly. "There is a place, the Crystal Mountain, and on it grows a flower, the Whispering Orchid. It sings the song of rain." A wave of murmurs swept through the crowd. Chief Aide fixed his gaze upon her, his brow furrowed. a blind girl, hearing secrets from the dirt. Tola, this is the talk of children and dreams. We face starvation, not fairy tales. It is not a fairy tale, respected elder, Tola insisted, standing taller. My eyes may not see the dust on your sandals, but my ears hear the thirst of the earth. My fingers feel the pain of the dying trees. The spirits of the land have spoken to me, Aid scoffed. And what would they have you do? A blind child, venture into the wilds? The journey to the Crystal Mountain is treacherous, a path even our most seasoned hunters fear. It is madness, but Tola's conviction was a quiet fire. I may not have sight, but I have faith. I will be the eyes for our village in a way that sight cannot provide. I must go. Her mother wept. Her father pleaded. But Tola's resolve was as unshakable as the mountain she sought. Seeing her determination, a few of the younger villagers, weary of the elders' inaction, offered her food, a water skin, and a sturdy walking staff. Her best friend, Kale, a boy whose laughter was usually as bright as the sun, pressed a small carved bird into her hand. So you don't forget the sound of home, he whispered, with her staff tapping a steady rhythm on the parched earth. Tola left the village. The familiar sounds and scents faded behind her, replaced by the unknown whispers of the wild. The first great challenge was the River of Sorrows, once a mighty torrent, now a treacherous maze of cracked mud and deep, hidden pools of stagnant water. Hunters had told tales of beasts that lurked in the murky depths. Tola stood at the edge, listening. She didn't hear the roar of a current, but the gurgle of water, the buzz of insects, the croak of unseen things. Closing her eyes, she focused not on the path she could see, but on the path she could feel. Her staff became an extension of her being, testing the ground, feeling for the solid earth beneath the cracked surface. She moved slowly, deliberately, a dance of trust between her feet, her staff, and the silent guidance of the earth. Days bled into a week. She navigated the maze of whispering canyons, a labyrinth of rock that confused the eye and amplified every sound into a disorienting echo. For others, it would have been a visual nightmare. For Tola, it was a concert hall of stone. She learned to read the echoes, to distinguish the sound of wind whistling through a dead end from the open-ended sigh of a clear passage. She followed the subtle warmth of the sun on her face and the direction of the wind. Her senses her unwavering compass. She ate wild berries she identified by their texture and scent, and found water by following the distant hum of bees. Finally, she began to climb. The air grew thin and cold. The ground changed from soft earth to sharp, unforgiving rock. This was the Crystal Mountain. Its name was not a metaphor. The rock faces were embedded with crystals that caught the faint starlight, creating a ghostly, shimmering glow. The journey was grueling. Her hands and knees were raw from the climb, her body exhausted. Doubt, a cold and creeping vine, began to wrap around her heart. Was Aid right? Was this just a child's fantasy? As she slumped against a rock, ready to give up, she felt for the carved bird Kale had given her. She remembered his face, the worried faces of the villagers, the cracked, thirsty earth. She pushed herself up. She had not come this far to fail. She climbed higher, guided by a new sound, a faint, ethereal hum that seemed to vibrate through the very rock she clung to. It was the song from her dreams, the song of the earth, now louder, clearer, pulling her onward. At the very peak, in a sheltered crevice bathed in moonlight, she found it, the Whispering Orchid. It was unlike any flower she had ever touched. Its petals were not soft, but felt like spun moonlight and cool water. It glowed with a soft internal luminescence that she could feel as warmth on her skin. And it sang. The hum she had followed was a beautiful, complex melody, a song of clouds gathering, of water molecules coalescing, of the sweet, life-giving promise of a downpour. Tola knelt before it, her heart overflowing. She didn't pick the flower. The earth had told her it was not a prize to be taken, but a prayer to be joined. Lifting her voice, she began to sing. She sang not with words, but with the sounds her heart knew. The sound of a baby's first laugh, the rhythm of pounding grain, the melody of the wind in the baobab tree, the deep, aching thirst of her people. She sang her sorrow, her hope, her love for her village. Her voice, clear and pure, intertwined with the orchid's song, rising from the peak of the crystal mountain into the vast, silent sky. And the sky listened. Far below, Chief Aide stood outside his hut, staring at the star-dusted heavens. He felt a drop of moisture on his forehead. He touched it, confused. Another followed, and another. A low rumble echoed in the distance, not of thunder, but of something deeper, more ancient. The villagers stumbled out of their huts, their faces turning upward in disbelief. A gentle mist, then a light drizzle, then a torrent. Rain. The sky wept tears of joy upon the grateful earth. Laughter, true and unrestrained, erupted through the village for the first time in months. People danced, sang, and let the blessed water wash the dust and despair from their skin. Aide fell to his knees, his face streaked with rain and tears, and whispered Tola's name. Days later, Tola returned. She was not carried on a litter like a conquering hero. She walked, her staff tapping its familiar rhythm, her face calm. The world she returned to was transformed. The air smelled of wet earth and new life. The river was beginning to sing again. The entire village ran to meet her, not with skepticism, but with reverence. In the joy of the downpour, the elder saw not the failure of his traditions, but the humbling power of a faith he had been blind to. Chief Aide approached her, his steps slow and deliberate. He stopped before her and bowed his head, a gesture of profound respect. "Tola," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "you saw not with your eyes, but with your heart. You heard not with your ears, but with your spirit. You have taught us that the greatest strength is not in what we see, but in what we believe. You have saved us." Tola simply smiled, a light shining from within her that was brighter than any sun. She had not conquered a mountain or slain a beast. She had listened. She had trusted. And in the heart of the deepest darkness, she had found the brightest light. Her village would never forget the blind girl who taught them how to truly see. Thank you for watching this story of courage and faith. If you were inspired by Tola's journey, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more tales that touch the heart. We'll see you next time.
Sweet hour of prayer that calls me from a world of care and bids me at my Father's throne make all my wants and wishes known. In seasons of distress and grief, my soul